And this brings us on to the Nerd News Network.
Yes, it does.
It's been a bit of a weird week because there's not been loads of news, but there's been like a couple of bits that you kind of go, "Oh, that's something."
Yeah, and oh shit,
Um,
that's important.
yeah. But we started off the week with some genuinely
the-
quite scary news.
Start off the year with
Yeah.
not the best start.
So Jeremy Renner was run over by a snowplow, it now turns out. So apparently, according to the police report, he was driving, he got stuck in snow.
Well, so
sorry, he was in a car with a family member on their
or
land.
one of their family members.
Yeah. And the car got stuck in snow. He went back to get the snowplow. And then he dug the car out, and the car got out no problem. He then got out of the snowplow
to
go and talk to them.
Classic.
At which point the snowplow started rolling.
Mm-hmm.
So then he tried to jump back in the snowplow to put the handbrake. I don't know if it's called a handbrake.
Yeah, it will be. But yeah, basically regain control of it.
Yeah, and he got run over in the process of trying to jump on board.
So my understanding is this isn't just like some small little like sit on low.
Yeah, it's a big one.
This is like one of those, not quite as big as what you get at a ski resort, but like that style where it's caterpillar tracks is my understanding. So if he's gone to jump in the door and it's like you've kind of got to step on the caterpillar track and like it's rolling and then his foot gets like knocked.
Yeah.
And it's snowy and slippy. Like, yeah, he's somehow ended up on the floor. It's gone over him.
Yeah.
And apparently he was losing a lot of blood. Thankfully, his neighbor's a doctor.
Yeah, severely bleeding. His neighbor was a doctor and managed to come over and put a tourniquet on it until the paramedics arrived,
and
which
got airlifted.
I can only imagine potentially saved his life.
Oh yeah, 100% probably did.
But he was in a critical but stable condition as of the 2nd when the news broke. He is now conscious. He's done a couple of posts to social media.
Yeah.
He's still in a bad way. He's still pretty beat up, but he's conscious, alert, chatting.
The initial reports were he'd had a serious accident and was critical. Then it came out that he had got run over or snowplow incident, and that was it. Then it was like he had chest injuries, and the way it was worded, it was like blunt trauma, chest injuries, and something to the like. And it's like basically what it comes down to is he's probably had broken ribs, and his legs have got torn up, and he had severe, like a almost deadly bleed on his leg.
Yeah.
Thankfully, yeah, I think that if it wasn't for that doctor, he probably would have lost his life or lost a leg potentially.
Sure.
And yeah, he's very lucky in that sense. And I know that they're now treating the incident scene as technically a crime scene because snowplows like that are meant to have safety features that don't allow people to be run over.
Oh.
So I imagine they're looking into that and finding out if it was something user error or if there's something that happened that shouldn't have happened, because then manufacturer's in trouble.
Yeah, as a manufacturer, you really don't want your machine to fail and injure.
Yeah, it's one thing injuring
one of the biggest names in Hollywood right now.
It's one thing if this was just your general Sam like plowing his driveway, but to be one of the biggest, like a big Marvel actor who
a fucking Avenger.
Yeah, like it's like, oh shit, this isn't the press you need.
But no, it looks like he's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Touch wood. He's, like I said, he's alert. He's conscious. He's doing social media posts. I'm sure there's going to be a long recovery window for him.
Yeah,
but definitely. At least he is alive.
Yes.
Another one that is this is like other end of the spectrum. It's not that serious. It's not that deep. It's just a bit interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So a famous comic book writer by the name of Dan Slott claims that the She-Hulk TV show is the most comic book accurate Marvel project. and that anyone who's trying to bash She-Hulk for not being comic book accurate is a fucking idiot, essentially. He's of the opinion it's okay if you don't like it, but don't claim it's not comic book accurate.
Yeah, exactly.
And
What's
the
the
real
even
kicker,
that he'd worked on a lot of the She-Hulk ones?
the real kicker is he has written more She-Hulk comics
that was
than
it.
literally anyone else.
So there you go. It's not just any comic book writer, it's essentially the She-Hulk comic book writer.
Yes.
And if he's saying it's the most comic book accurate, then I'm sorry, everyone else is wrong that says otherwise.
Don't get me wrong, he might not be right about it being the most comic book accurate, but it does mean that people's argument of it's not comic book accurate.
Well, yeah,
fucking on the floor.
I think it's more so him saying the most comic book accurate to definitely to She-Hulk comics.
Yeah, 100%.
So like, if he thinks his writing on the comics has been shown just as well as it should be in the show, then like, say what you want, but
it's just an interesting one. And I can't believe that for how much people seem to hate She-Hulk and they're like, oh, it's just bad. It seems to get discussed a lot on the internet, which makes me think it's actually not that people dislike it; they dislike the message of it, and therefore they can't get over it.
Yeah, and I feel like there's also
when you like get under someone's skin and they just sit there, it just goes round and round in their head, and they're constantly going, "Yeah, but what about? Yeah, but what about?"
I feel like it's a new thing that people find to hate about it. It's like people have kind of got shut down about, oh, it is comic book accurate, or no, it is a good, funny show. And it's like, oh, damn, that's okay. They make a good point. It isn't bad because of that. Now it's like, oh, it's bad because Daredevil, this isn't the best way Daredevil should have been brought back into the MCU. And it's like, really? Like, it's perfectly, like, it was a great, fun way for him to reappear.
Hate to break it to you, but Daredevil, you've fucking got me
I know.
now. Daredevil is an absolute slut.
Yeah, I think he
absolutely would have been all over.
People were like, "Oh, we could have had a better way of him being reintroduced," but it's like you're just finding
a comedy show.
Yeah, you're just trying to find reasons for an issue with She-Hulk, and honestly, you're struggling and clutching at straws. So,
we then had a very funny video from Hugh Jackman on Twitter.
Yes.
So Ryan Reynolds was in a film I forget the name of. By the sounds of it might have been a musical. And Hugh Jackman was very complimentary of the film. All of the actors in it but Ryan Reynolds. So like he named a number of the lead actors other than Ryan Reynolds and said how great they were. Complimented the person who wrote one of the songs and said how much he loved that song. But that song is now up for an Oscar.
And
basically he was like, we cannot let it win an Oscar because the next year of my life filming Wolverine and Deadpool is going to be horrific if Ryan Reynolds wins an Oscar for this, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like, pleading. And as the internet does, its only takeaway was, oh, he called it Wolverine and Deadpool. Is that a title leak?
And I also saw someone tweeted that at him, and then Hugh Jackman replied to that tweet saying, sounds good, doesn't it? So
I imagine part of the marketing for this film is going to be Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman fighting about whose name should come first.
Well, that's how they marketed their alcohol brands. Was just they're making videos about each other taking digs, and so it's 100% going to be. We're going to get a video of Ryan Reynolds now, and he's going to call it Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah,
and it's going to be this argument of whose name goes first. And
it's going to be brilliant marketing because they're both such good actors. You could genuinely believe they didn't like each other.
Oh yeah,
it's going to be great, and I cannot wait for the marketing. It's going to be some of the most fun marketing we've seen in a while.
I guarantee there'll be. Do you know what? I guarantee there's going to be 2 official posters. One will say Wolverine and Deadpool. The other will say Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah,
and that's just how they're going to like. There is going to be no. And official way.
Deadpool in big letters, and then just Wolverine in the bottom right hand corner in a tiny.
And then there'll be an opposite one of Wolverine and Deadpool tiny in the corner.
Yeah, if they're smart, they will be.
Yeah.
Talking of people who may or may not be smart.
Oh God.
So.
Yeah, I sent this to you, didn't I?
We need to take this with a pinch of salt because there's a lot to unpack here.
There is. I have a theory.
the DC execs are rumored to be open to keeping Ezra Miller since they've been behaving themselves, essentially.
Since they've been dealing with their mental health.
Yeah, and not committing crimes.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. That makes me just think that James Gunn isn't sure if he wants Ezra Miller, and the board have just kind of gone, we will back whatever decision you make.
Okay, so I've sort of taken it a similar way. I've gone, key thing here is DC execs. If this was James Gunn, publications would be saying James Gunn because he's the talk of the town at the moment with DC. I 100% think it's like you said, the board, the execs at the top have, because they're the ones who've had to handle getting Ezra Miller, like, and dealing with the legal side of this probably, are going, yeah, he's been behaving. We're open to keeping him, like, still working.
We're not going to close the door.
No. And I think what's going to happen is they've said that, and then in a week or so, James Gunn's going to have to put out another set of tweets of like shutting off rumors, and he's going to go, yeah, I have no intent on continuing with this current Flash or something. He's like, the Flash will be a character I use, but it won't be the current Flash. Similar to how he said about Superman.
Or you'll get something like, I have no immediate plans for the Flash. I know that I want to use the Flash, but I haven't got any further than that yet. But I think there are rumors saying we're going to get their initial plan by the end of the month, which might then give us a better idea of what to expect.
I think what we'll get then is like a list of titles. But I honestly, everything so far from James Gunn, I'm liking. I'm on board with.
We just got to give it a chance.
And
I mean, it can't be worse than the shit we've had to deal with.
No, but I will say, if he says, yes, I'm more than happy to keep working with Ezra Miller, I'm sorry, that's a big red flag. I'm sure Ezra Miller can turn a corner and be a great actor, but I honestly, if he chooses to keep using him, he's shooting himself in the foot with Flash. Because
I think
even if it's a James Gunn run Flash film, those people that have a thing against Ezra Miller will just, for the sake of it, be like, nah, it's going to be shit. Like, we're boycotting it. Everyone boycott DC. They still want to work with Ezra Miller.
I think the only way Ezra Miller can work is if the Flash gets, not the Flash film that's already done, but any future Flash projects get shelved for like 3 years. And Ezra Miller just spends that entire time, or like a year of that, sorting themselves out. And then the 2 years after that, on a huge press tour to repair their reputation. And after that, I think as long as it doesn't feel phony, which is always the tricky bit, people will go, yes, what they did was unacceptable, but it seems like they were really struggling and they're now better. And like, for the most part, people are willing to give people second chances.
Yes, but also in the age of the internet, I think it's pretty difficult.
It's always going to be something that follows Ezra Miller around.
Yes, and I think James Gunn is, if he chooses to use Ezra Miller, is going to make his own life a bit difficult.
But let's not forget James Gunn is on his second chance as well, so he might be more willing to give people second chances.
Yeah, I just think he'll end up making his life harder to get fans on board if he chooses to stick with Ezra.
But we'll see. We
also need to see what the fuck happens in this Flash film.
Apparently, it's really good though. All of the early screenings and everything I'm reading, there seems to be a lot of buzz about it, and I want it to be good because I love the Flash.
Yeah.
But it's tricky.
Yeah.
In some really cool but quirky and weird and fun news. So last year, or was it earlier? Who knows?
I don't know. Last year?
2021. September 21. we got season 1 of Visions on Disney Plus, which was
Mm.
it worked with like 8 anime studios
Yeah,
to
it was
create
eight.
like unique Star Wars
It
stories
was
in an anime style.
8 official anime studios, which for an anime studio to be an actual one, it has to be. I'm pretty sure it has to be based in Tokyo or Japan. Is like the term. But yeah, they worked with them. They said they can do. These are the like obviously the rules of Star Wars and like the world that it's set in, but like the story can be anything you want. And they all came up with their own thing in their own style.
And
And
they were all fucking amazing.
yeah, they were all amazing in their own right. There was one that stood out from the rest, and everyone loved that a little bit more, which was the black and white samurai style one. Um, to which I am pretty sure shortly after Visions, because everyone loved it so much, it got announced that it was going to have its own book. Well, it now seems like this comic book
Yes.
is starting.
So Marvel announced their comics that are coming in the new year, which include the Judgment Day, which is Avengers X-Men Eternals crossover, the Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man,
Interesting. Connor's adding to his
um,
list.
and then Star Wars Visions. The cover art for that does look like it fits the samurai.
Yes, it looks just like the style of that.
There is also a new Wakanda #1 coming, which looks sick. I am very, very tempted to get this because I imagine it's going to be a manga style.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit more of a manga style, I think.
I
I
would
would
imagine
imagine.
so.
At least art style. It probably is going to be very cool. And obviously alongside like the announcement of Visions season 2 coming, I can't like as much as I'm on a weird thing with Vision season 2 because it's like I want 8 completely new studios style like new things again because it was sick, but I also want more of the samurai. It's just like, do they give us another episode of that from that studio, or do we get like a whole new set again?
Yeah.
Um,
I would like some of the ones we saw to get like sequels, but then I'd like some new ones as well.
yeah, I think I'm similar. I'd like a mix. But
But yeah,
super
so
cool.
it's really cool. Disney for a long time now have been producing Star Wars comics via Marvel.
Yes.
Um, I'll be honest, I've not looked at any of them. I'm sure there are some good ones. But as far as I know, basically all of the comics aren't canon, which just to a lot of people kind of makes you go, well, they're pointless, so I'm not going to bother then. But I mean, some people just like comic books.
And some people just want to read more Star Wars themed stuff. I think
Yes.
yeah, like I'm pretty sure you're right in the comics aren't canon, and then that also lines up with like these Star Wars Visions technically isn't canon.
Yeah, no,
Um,
they're like homages, aren't they? It's like, what
yeah,
if we do this with Star Wars? And
yeah,
I mean, it was fucking awesome. The umbrella with the million lightsabers, it was just sick.
yeah. There was some
Oh,
really creative ideas. Um,
100%.
yeah, that was very cool.
We also got confirmation that the Beyonder is
Mm,
going to be the big bad for Avengers sequels. Which is really funny because the Beyonder is a Kang variant
yeah,
and will be being played by Jonathan Majors.
yeah.
So I feel like they've only announced this because they don't want people to get confused if a Kang variant dies in any of the films that are coming up.
Do you know what I think it is as well? We mentioned I think a while back when all the Phase 5 stuff and 6 got announced. Like we wondered if are we gonna start getting more Kang variants because obviously the one in Loki is very clearly different and has been confirmed as different to the one in Ant-Man.
Yes.
Um, so it's like that's clearly a theme they're going to kind of run with. So them announcing it, I think, is one to help. They know the casual fans might not quite have grasped that yet, so they're making sure there isn't that level of confusion. And I think it's also to cover them like one, like you say, if one of them dies at some point in the next phase, or if there's like these weird characters have met one Kang, but then they meet Kang again and he doesn't know them.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, they've already met him. Why doesn't he remember? But
Yeah.
then it's more so, I think they're trying to cover themselves with the casual fans because they are. It's that weird point now because there's so many shows and so many films that it's harder for the casual MCU fan to keep up.
100%.
And it's getting more complicated in just like multiverse stuff, which is all expected. So it's just they don't want to lose them too much. So, but I'm excited for it. I'm down for as many Kang variants as we can get.
Stack them in, bro.
And
that is it from the Nerd News Network.
Yeah.
Until next week. I'm sure there'll be more shit.
There'll probably be stuff 10 minutes after we're done recording.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't too bad over Christmas, but it was also Christmas.
Yeah, everyone went quiet.